It is definitely a cute, cozy game, and the graphics definitely match that. The nice thing is that there's not too much hand-holding. It's a good balance. There's still a lot of progress, but I'd say it's very good as it is. I'm going to give it an... So Dinkum is a online co-op farming sim slash survival game, essentially. You are in an island, but you get to explore deep forests, scorching deserts, billigons, or however you say those, as well as multiple other kind of locations, all inspired by the wild Australian outback. And you can take care of animals, you can farm, you build civilization and all sorts of stuff. There are a multitude of things you can do. You can build your own small town in the way that you want. You can craft items to decorate and organize your town. You can play with friends. You can go fishing, catch bugs, you can hunt, survive, customize your character in your own home. There's a multitude of things that you can do in the game. And there's still a multitude of things that I haven't gotten around to yet. So it is definitely an interesting one. There's still a lot to do, and I'm looking forward to exactly the extent of what is currently in the game. And with it being early access, it means that there's a lot of improvement that can come up. With him being very active, he seems to be very passionate about his game, so I am very excited to see what he plans to do in the future. Now, the number one thing that I'd probably say, Dinkum reminds me a lot of Animal Crossing for the Switch. And I don't know why, for reasons really, either it was the time or something, but Animal Crossing didn't really catch my attention that much. It was a good game, it just didn't really hold my attention for very long. But Dinkum, for some reason, I'm very much enjoying. Maybe because there has like a little bit of like an actual combat system built into the game and whatnot, where it doesn't really feel that way with Animal Crossing. But otherwise, a lot of the other aspects of the game are very reminiscent of Animal Crossing. I gotta say, it is a very good game, and I'm very much enjoying it. It is really, really good. So, for what it is, I typically like to talk about the developers before we actually get into the game. Our first point of the review is the developer info / history. Who is the team? Who's behind the game? The game is made by a solo dev, which goes by the name of James Bendon. He is the solo developer. It's just him making the game from everything that I have found. But he lives in Australia, which is also where the game is designed to be based, I guess you could say. But he is the solo developer and publisher. There was no publisher for the game. He was the one that did it and everything. And surprisingly, he's done exceptionally well for himself. The game has phenomenal reviews. It's in a very positive state and whatnot with everything that's in it. So this is his one and only game that he's working on right now. There are other games that you can buy the game with. He's a part of different bundles. First everything he's working on, I gotta say, he's doing very well for himself. It's a great concept for a video game. Now, point number 2, the game's state and potential. So the current game state, it is in early access. Still has a lot of work left to be done. There's still some bugs and stuff like that, but I will say, for what it is, it's not half bad. There's a few little minor bugs here and there, but it's nothing too major. The game was initially released on July 14th of 2022, so it's a couple of years old now. We're coming up on about 2 years. But also in that time, he has been very active in building the game. He has a lot of updates. He's done a lot of patches and everything. Just in the past few months and everything, or the past even few weeks, he's done some updates, so it's very well done. It is definitely a good game for that side of it. Now, the requirements and everything that I'll say really quick for the game, to play it on your system, very minimal. Like, you can run this on a potato system, essentially. So it does not take long to run it. It's smooth. Again, I've only experienced a couple minor bugs, but they seem to fix themselves. It wasn't absolutely game-breaking. The connection and everything was good when playing with other people and such, so it was very good in that aspect. Onward to the graphics, the design of the game. I definitely think that this was a smart move. Sometimes it's nice to have, for games like this, especially the way he's designing it, it is definitely a cute, cozy game. And the graphics definitely match that. That's what the game was built to be, and the graphics match that aesthetic. So it is definitely a much more calm, at least when you're not fighting something, which we'll get to in a little bit when we get to the gameplay. When it comes to the graphics and everything, it's very calm, very cool, relaxing, everything. not too much, and the graphics definitely fit it. It looks good, it's smooth, it really just fits. So it's not hyper realistic, it's very cartoony and just kind of a cute animations and everything, but I feel like it works. It's simple and it's good, so I very much enjoy it. It's very pleasing to just kind of watch. It's nothing over the top. Now, when it comes to the gameplay, there's a lot of different game mechanics, and I feel like all the game mechanics work very well for what it is. You got your farming, as we mentioned, fishing, animal husbandry, bug catching, and all sorts of stuff. And then you got hunting, survival, the customization, everything, just all in depth. I won't go great into depth, but there's a lot of little mechanics. When it comes to the crafting and survival aspect, we've talked about this on a scale about 1 to 5, 1 being the most simplest survival mechanic games out there with crafting systems, and 5 being the most complex. Out of that scale, I would say this probably falls somewhere in about a 2 to 3, maybe 2.5, somewhere in there. It's not an overly complex system. You can easily sit down and play the game and talk with friends or stream and talk with people and stuff like that, and you don't have to use all of your brain capacity to think about, oh, you got to follow this very in-depth line, you know, tech line or whatever, or progression line of what to do to get to something. It's very simplistic to understand, but then to actually do everything, it does take a little bit to do. The game's not super easy in that regard. You do have to do a little bit of grinding, and if you don't manage yourself too well, you might run into a pickle where you just have to then take a little bit of time to go do something really quick, but it's not like it's absolutely paramount, which is very, very nice. The crafting simple system, when it comes to like food crafting, it's nice because you can literally just take the bare minimum stuff that you collect and make something of it and use it. Like, it has its purpose. But as you progress into the progression system, it's very simplistic because you can take those simplistic items, either raw materials or food, you can cook it up or craft it into the next tier of items, even though it's not real, it's like an unofficial tier. There's not like a tier-based system. There is for a few things when it comes to like weapons and tools, but that's about it. But when it comes to food, like, okay, you can take a stick and some meat and you can get meat on a stick food, and it just provides slightly better buffs than if you were just eating the meat directly. But then you can use that meat and other ingredients to make better dishes that provide better benefits for longer periods of time. So that's where it's like, if you need something quickly, you can just gather up a bunch of meat and fruits, eat it, and then those will provide you with benefits, but not for very long. You have to keep eating the stuff quickly. Whereabouts on the other side, you can go and cook the stuff and everything and get better meals, and then you can consume those and then last longer and provides with a slightly better benefit for that lengthy period of time. Same thing with crafting. When you craft better tools and weapons, such as either you go with basic, copper, and iron. Those are pretty much the 3 tiers when it comes to those items. When you build better ones, you can take on harder things, mine harder equipment and stuff, or materials, and then you can craft stuff with those and so on, normally. It takes less stamina, you can break things quicker, and it lasts longer. So it is worth building better items and such. There's a lot of other aspects when it comes to like fishing and farming and all those other kind of things. And once you learn how to do stuff, it is pretty simplistic. The nice thing is that there's not too much hand holding. It's a good balance. It leaves you enough room where you can easily go out and discover stuff and figure it out for yourself, but then you don't have to worry about not too much hand holding at the same time, which is very nice. So, and you can kind of pick and choose what you want to go into. You can do everything. It doesn't stop you from that, but you can kind of pick like, oh, you want to do farming. You can make money off that way, or hunting, or whatever it may be. So you got plenty of options that way. Now, sound design. Sound design is done very well. The music, the sound effects, and everything done very well. There is nothing out of the ordinary. It's very clean, very crisp, and just sounds very, very nice. The music is very pleasant in the background, and just all in all, really, really good. I definitely enjoy it. The controls, very simplistic. Honestly, the fact that you can use mouse and keyboard and controller for this, very, very nice. Very simplistic controls. Takes a little bit to get used to. I didn't rebind anything, but there were a few times where I would play another game and then I would get my interactions mixed up a little bit. But once I kind of got back into it, then it was very simplistic. So very simple controls to get the hang of, so you can easily get into the game once you play it for a little bit. Very easy to use. Nothing overly complex. Again, I haven't had to rebind anything. I feel like the control setup was very well done. Now, on to point number 7. the story and lore. So there is a bit of a lore to it and story. You're on the island because you live in a certain city, and there is a older lady that essentially helps take care of you and stuff like that. She goes to an island and wants to start her own settlement there, and you're going with her to help her. That's the story. That's why you're on the island. So you're leaving the big gloomy city and everything like that where nobody's happy, can do well for themselves, and you're coming to an island to just start anew. And you do. Literally the entire story is that way. You're starting from just having a couple of simple tents, a base camp in your tent, and you're slowly building up to having a town hall, having multiple buildings and stuff like that you can build with. You can build your own houses that you can put stuff in, and you can get NPCs and villagers to come live with you and such as well, and you can customize a village or your settlement any way that you want. So there's a multitude of things, and each NPC that comes offers great things to you that help increase the gameplay itself for more game items and content, essentially. And then the final point is the replay value. I'd honestly say it's really good. I mean, you can have multiple characters and such, and you can keep going with them, and just coming back to it. It's not like it's a linear story. It is a survival game, essentially open world survival type co-op game. So that's kind of where the replayability is. You keep coming back for more and more sessions and stuff to continue on, and so on and so forth. So very well done in that regard. It feels very balanced in that regard, to where as soon as you know how stuff is done, you can very easily beeline it to certain things. But if you don't, you can just kind of play on and you discover stuff as you go. It's very well balanced in that regard. And I guess one other final point that I would say that kind of comes into maybe the gameplay, but kind of its own thing, is the co-op itself. So kind of one additional point here. The co-op is very well done. A lot of these kind of games that you have like other servers, private worlds, all these kind of things, you know, you build your own characters for those worlds and so on and so forth. And then progression systems are kind of mixed up sometimes. This one is done very well. It's very balanced. You can have multiple characters, and then each character has their own island you play on. Your friends can visit your islands. You can play up to 6 people, hosts included, on an island, and you can do stuff together. Each player brings their own character from their own saves on their own systems. It's a peer-to-peer, P2P connection. So you, as far as I can tell, you can't have a server going. There's, as far as I can tell, there's no way to have your own server. There might be a way around that, but I don't know of it. There's no like upfront way to do that. But I feel like that works because it's only 6 people, so it's not like a massive survival game. It's like, oh, hey, you and up to your 6 friends can get going and take care of your stuff and everything right there and be all good to go. As long as you can just get a game time figured out, you can jump on and go. The nice thing is that the host's world is the one that's saved, and that's where that holds all the data and whatnot, like the progression of the world. But your characters have their own progression systems with the licenses and such. And the items that you can craft, that is all saved to your character, which no matter what world you go to, as soon as you discover something new to yourself, then you're good to go. You don't need to worry about anything else. You can jump worlds as much as you want and you're all good. And I would probably say right now, what I would give it for the 1 out of 10 iron bars, there's still a lot of progress, but I'd say it's very good as it is. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. There's still a couple little bugs here and there that I feel, and there's still more to be discovered. This could be greatly increased. I'll probably revisit and do another review sometime down the line with the game, but I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 because there were still a few slight bugs here and there, which again, it just kind of comes with the game. So obviously it's not going to be like drastic or anything like that, minor things here and there. And there's still a lot of room for improvement, and there's still more to be discovered in the game. So right now, 8 out of 10 iron bars, but I definitely plan to come back and try it out more in the future. So yeah, there we go. That concludes that.